Good day, all. It's good to see you all once again. It's good to be seen by you all once again. And we know why we're here, to check up on me. That's going to be a running thing. Like, I just wanted to check in today because I needed to do a mental check-in. I need to mentally check in today. Today was a really tough day. I got up this morning. I was supposed to work today. And my oldest two had dentist appointments. One had to get he had to get work done. The other one just needed a cleaning. I was 4 minutes late. His appointment was at 10:30. I walked in at 10:34, and they was like, we can't take him because they needed every minute to do the work that he needed done on his mouth. So they could only take the oldest baby, which was just a cleaning. It was a 15-minute cleaning. But y'all, if y'all knew the hell that I was going through in the morning trying to get 4 kids together, 4 kids ready, who are wonderful stay-at-home kids. Like, they would much rather be home than anywhere else. So trying to get them ready, get them out the door by myself in the car to an appointment that was 8 minutes away. Then be 4 minutes late, and they'd be like, sorry. That just broke me. As soon as she was like, is it okay? Like, you just want to do his appointment? I was just like, you might as well get the one who could get his done. And we'll just come back for the other one. Like, I don't have another choice. And I wasn't upset at her. I wasn't upset at the lady. I wasn't upset at the doctors or anything. I was just upset at my day. Like, why is this so hard? Like, why do things feel so hard? Like, that's how I feel. Like, why does it feel so hard? And it got me to thinking about something that I seen last night that somebody posted on my Instagram. I'll put it here so you can read it. But what it was basically saying was, things are hard for you because you're the one who's deciding to break the generational curses in your family, and you decided to do things differently. And that's why it's a hard way. Like, you're the one that your ancestors and your children and your people around you have been waiting for. That's why things are so hard. And I had just had this conversation with my sister. So as you can tell, what I want to talk about today is breaking generational curses and what that looks like for me. It doesn't look the same for everybody because every family doesn't have the same generational curse, doesn't have the same generational bad things, doesn't have the same generational traits that need to be gotten rid of. So I want to spend a little bit of time today unloading that off of my mind. Breaking generational curses and what that looks like for me. So I want to start off by saying, disclaimer, I believe within my heart that the generations before us did exactly what they knew how to do, what they were taught to do. They had their survival tactics that they passed down to us all. And they had the way of doing things that they passed down to us all. A lot of the things that were done were not questioned. A lot of the things done, you look at now, I look at now, and it has caused a great deal of trauma in my life. It just has. This is not to blame anybody. This is not to say, well, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's not to put the blame on anyone, not to hate anyone, not to speak down on anyone. But as an adult who has 4 children now, I'm not just looking out for myself. I'm also looking out for them. They are my responsibility. But not just them, the people that are around me. I owe it to myself and the people that I love to love them in a healthy way. And along with loving them in a healthy way comes realizing some of the shit that we have gone through and understanding that, yeah, it seemed to have kind of worked for some. Like, I can't even really say it worked, but it did the job it was supposed to when it was supposed to. And now I think we can change it. Like, now I feel like we can change it. One of the things that my therapist, one of the favorite things she likes to remind me is saying, the trait that you have is not necessarily a bad thing, but it's something that no longer serves you. And that's how I'm choosing to look at the things that we've gone through the generations and through our lives. And it's not, I don't want to call it a bad thing, because I don't want the people before me to feel bad. But I do want to acknowledge, while that was a survival tactic then, it is something that no longer serves us. It's something that no longer serves me. It's something that will no longer serve, that won't serve my children. Something that won't no longer serve my marriage. And because of that, that means I have to work and find new ways of doing things. And in order to do that, that means I have to communicate. It means I have to talk, not just with the people around me, but it sounds crazy, but with myself as well. Along with talking and communicating with myself, I have to be honest about everything. A lot of things that I wasn't honest about before, I have to be honest about it now. I have to question everything, my thoughts. You know, I encourage my children now, while it is annoying sometimes, to question anything that they have questions about, anything that gives them a pause. Like, no matter who it's coming from, question it. My oldest is great at it. My oldest and my first two, they're great at it. They will question it. My last two, they won't really question it. If they just don't want to do it, they'll defy it. But what got me thinking about this was, we'll rewind back to a couple weeks ago. So my oldest baby, he is so smart. You will have the most intellectual conversations with him about science and about how things work and about the body, and anything that is science-wise, he loves. But we have started noticing some things. And I noticed it in him when he was in preschool. But as he's getting older, we noticed the traits more. But he lacks focus. He lacks being able to pay attention. He's not able to sit still. And all of his teachers from preschool all the way up to now, he's in 3rd grade, have always said, have you ever got him tested? Have you ever gotten him tested? And it's like, no, I haven't, and no one ever really gave me any information about how to go about getting him tested, but I just knew it was something I need to look into. Well, this year, he is struggling a lot in school when it comes to focus and reading and things like that, and some social behaviors. So we decided to take it more serious and get him tested. And we took him to the doctor, and the doctor was saying, he shows severe signs of ADHD. And if you know my oldest child, he is very opinionated. He's very particular. It's not just him. All of my children are this way, but him and my second baby show it the most. So with my oldest, he's very particular. He's very inquisitive, but he's also like on 10 all the time. Mostly everyone that watches him either says he talks a lot or he moves a lot. He doesn't sit still, which to a lot of people that's annoying. For a long time, it would get to me and my husband, and we would just sit down, stop, why would you, blah, blah, blah. And then I realized, being an adult with a mental illness, then I had to take a moment to sit and realize, being an adult with a mental illness, and how there are times I exhibit the exact same behavior that he has, that I'm now learning about myself. Like, these are things that, while was looked at as, wow, Alexis is very loquacious, as a child, I talked a lot. That was one thing that a lot of people would reference to. It wasn't my eyes, it was my mouth. Like, I talked a lot, and I talked about things that were adult things. Like, I talked a lot. There is a home video we have that in the video, there's like 30 minutes of me just tap dancing and playing a tambourine. And there's like another 15 minutes of me rambling on about somebody's wig. Like, I've always been a talker. And I also noticed in like my manic episodes, not only do I talk a lot, I talk fast. I am impulsive. Like, these are things I know that comes with me. And these aren't things that I just developed as an adult. These are things that I've always had. But being diagnosed with bipolar disorder as an adult just helped me explain it. So I had to realize, okay, so if every professional that's coming in contact with my son, teaching professional anyway, said you should probably get him tested. Maybe you should get him tested. And then after getting him tested, made me realize, okay, so he's not a bad child. He's not an active child. There's something going on with him neurologically that he can't even understand and explain. So, like, yelling at him and beating it away isn't going to do it. So when we first had kids, we were very into like strict discipline. Like, we were into corporal punishment. And this is when my baby was young. Maybe for like the first, no lie, the first couple years, I realized it when we went to potty train Gabriel, our oldest, and I remember spanking him because he had an accident. And because that's what I was told to do. That's how you potty train a child. You teach them to go on a potty, they don't go on a potty, then you punish them. So I remember punishing him because he had an accident. And I just remember thinking, like, this doesn't feel right. Like, I don't feel okay yelling at him and spanking his bottom because he had an accident. Because, like, how am I going to teach him that accidents are okay, but then I'm yelling at him for having accidents? So that's when I started realizing maybe, maybe I don't want to be that way. But then, of course, I would get flack from older people like, that child he sit down if you spank him. He do this and he do that. And you're just like, oh, yeah, because you were taught growing up that just speaking back to any elder was disrespectful. So you're just like, oh, yeah, and he does what he wants. And then when he turned 4, we had another baby. And we had our second child. And my second child is very particular. He has meltdowns a lot. And I know people see kids in stores like, that don't make no sense. They can't. But you don't understand. You don't understand it until you're in it. And with our second baby, with Emmanuel, he doesn't just have tantrums. He has full-blown meltdowns. Just meltdowns. And if you don't give him the space to go through a meltdown, it will trigger it and make it worse. And looking at him in his eyes, sometimes it just looks like he can't help it. But that's he's so overstimulated with everything that's going on, and he knows he's not happy. A meltdown is the only thing that would kind of rectify that in his mind. So then I started realizing, maybe the way that I grew up is not the way I want to raise my children. And this isn't to say anything bad about my parents or anything like that, because now, while I have been through a lot of trauma as a child, and I realize going to therapy and things like that now, that a lot of memories have been dug back up and talked about and dissected, and I realize that I've been through a lot of trauma that has affected me greatly in my adult years. Greatly. And sometimes I have a hard time accepting it. Like, why? You want to pose the question, why me? Like, why would I have to go through some shit like that to bring me where I am today? But anyways, like I was saying, I don't hate my parents. I love my parents. Even now we're working towards a good relationship as adults, because they're adults, I'm an adult, and working towards what that looks like for the both of us on both ends without crossing any boundaries. But I do, like, going through therapy, I do realize that they did what they could with what they had. And sometimes I grapple with the idea of, but why didn't they think to do something else? Like, but if I'm going to be honest with myself, why would they think to do something else? They had every adult. My parents were young when they had me and my siblings. They were young when they got married. Why would they look for something different? Why wouldn't they think to do what the adults around them were telling them to do? Now, I'm not saying every adult around them had pure intentions, like, oh, this is how we did this, how you do it. No, because I believe that some of the adults around them literally were lazy as hell, they were lazy as they just, I feel like they were miserable in their own lives. So they were just like, there's no way that I'm going to help another generation be better. And that was some. There were others I felt like were controlling to a point to where if you do what I say, do how I say do it, then your life will be how I picture for it to be. But as soon as you go against that in any way, you go against me. So then I can no longer help you. There are people like that too. Just all different kinds of people. But anyway, I say all that to say they did what they could with what they had. And so I don't completely fault them. I'm trying to pick my words carefully. I don't want to sound like a bitter bitch. But I then realized after we had our second child, maybe we should try something different. I then realized that with trying something different does make a lot of people before you, older people, a lot of people before you, older people in your lives, feel like you're saying to them, it's something about doing what's best for your life and your situation and your family, and that looking different than what the people before you did. Sometimes it makes them feel like, oh, so what you trying to say, what I did wasn't good enough? And it's like, you want to say, well, yeah, kind of. Like, it was good enough for our situation, but it's not good enough for me and mine. And that sounds bad, but I'm at a point in my life that I kind of apologize for it sounding bad to you. It is not my intentions to hurt your feelings, but I do need you to understand that what I'm doing for me and my family is what's best for us. Is what's best for my children. I look at me and my siblings, and we were all pretty much raised the same way. And I say that meaning it was still the same structure. Beat them till they get it right. That's it. It sounds bad, but that was the structure. Beat them till they get it right. My husband was raised the same way. Beat them till they get it right. I realized that back then, that was a strategy that was used to keep kids in line because you didn't have the time and the opportunity to tell them right from wrong. You didn't have the time and the opportunity to be like, to teach them a lesson. You had to beat the lesson into them so that you could go on about your life or, do the adult things or whatever. And I'm learning now that we're going to have a vulnerable woman here. I'm learning now that because I was brought up under the beat them till they get it rule, that when I get angry, and this is when me and my husband had decided that we weren't going to spank our kids anymore. I was watching 12 Years a Slave, and something happened, and the master was so angry. I think it was at Lupita's. It was at Lupita's character. The colonizer was so angry at her that he took a whip and he whipped her. Like, I remember it. So this was okay. Interlude, story time. So my husband comes on. Wait. Fast forward to when 12 Years a Slave first came out on DVD. He comes home and he was like, I got something for you. And he would always like buy me like random stuff that I would say I wanted. So he was like, I got 2 movies for you I know you want to see. So I was like, oh, great. This dude pulls out oh God, with the Mockingjay, Hunger Games. He pulls out Hunger Games. And I was like, oh, cool. I really want this. Because I like Hunger Games. I like movies and stuff like that. The other movie he put out was 12 Years a Slave. And I was like, okay, I don't really want to see this. So he's like, I thought you said you want to see it. I was like, well, yeah, I want to see it, but I don't want to own it. Like, I don't want to own it. Anyways, we watched that movie. And this was years ago because we lived in Ohio at the time. And it did exactly what I knew it would do. It made me feel some type of way within my spirit. And I just remember, like, the look on the colonizer's face when he got upset at Lupita's character and how he beat her until he was satisfied. And it made me think, like, it wasn't so much that what she did was wrong, and I can't even remember what it was because I have not seen that movie again since we saw it that day. I can't remember what it was, but I just remember thinking, like, it wasn't so much that she done something wrong, but it was that what she did caused you to be angry, and because you were angry, you beat her. And I remember having a conversation with my husband, like, the next time that our oldest had did something, because he's meddlesome. And it had a not so great result. I think he might have poured something out or wasted something. And I remember my husband getting upset. And I was just like, okay, so can we talk about this? Because I no longer want to beat our kids. And of course, you know, we come from Black families. That's what we do with my mom. And I'm like, yeah, I get it, but I don't think it's working. I think it only makes him scared of us. And at the end of the day, aren't we only whipping him because we're angry? Like, think about it. We're only whipping him because we're angry. That's it. Like, that's the only reason. Not, like, we could teach him and tell him, like, this is, you know, telling him, like, you doing this causes me to feel this way, or you doing this causes this effect, or having some type of lesson behind it, like, that's different. And then instead of just beating him, beatings never taught me a lesson. Only lesson that beatings taught me was I don't want to be whipped again. Beatings kind of taught me to hide my mess, be more secretive with my parents. Even if it was something I was curious about or something I wanted to talk about, if I didn't want to be whooped. I remember one time, she couldn't wait to tell on me. We were playing this game at my aunt's house. And I did the Michael Jackson, you know, the hee-hee dance. So I grabbed my crutch. We were playing charades. Like, celebrity charades is what it was. And I was telling my cousin, I was like, you could be Michael Jackson. Like, we're whispering about it, who we're going to be. So I was telling him, like, you could be Michael Jackson. I was like, can you do this move? And I grabbed my crutch, put my hand in the air, and I said the hee-hee thing. We were at my aunt's house. My aunt lived next door to my grandmother. This chick laughed at what I did, but then went next door and told my dad what I did. This dude beat me. He whooped me. And, like, to this day, it was a whooping that there are quite a few whoopings I don't forget, but it was a whooping I don't forget, because I was just like, I honestly don't know what I did wrong. I don't know what I did wrong, but I do believe it was like a power play for him. Like, oh, my little girl not about to be out there grabbing a private, like, a penis she doesn't have. And, like, now that I have kids, I have so I'm saying all that to say, like, this is how I grew up. I grew up in beat culture. And because that is the way that I grew up, I find myself sometimes when I'm angry reaching for that. So if I get, like this morning, we were running late to the dentist appointment, and I was already frustrated because nobody was listening to me. I was trying to get shoes on, and I was frustrated because my husband had left the house crazy last night before he went to bed. Like, everything he used to cook is out on the counters and everything. It looks a mess. So I'm already feeling some type of way. And I'm trying to get everybody in the car. And because Emmanuel knows he's going to the dentist, he's just, like, asking all these questions. Mommy, I want to do this. He's excited about going to the dentist, to the doctors, really. So I'm just like, Manny, I know. Just please. So then we went to the dentist, and they couldn't see him because we were 4 minutes late. And I was frustrated. I was already feeling like a terrible mom. Like, see, here I am. I can't do this, blah, blah, blah. And Manny has a he has a meltdown. He broke. He's screaming, and he's hollering, and he's just weeping because he wants to get his teeth looked at. The beat up culture in me, what's ingrained in me, was like, I'm about to beat this kid. I'm about to whoop him. But I had to get them in the car. I had to close the door and I had to take a deep breath. Because then I started noticing that I was then speaking harshly to my oldest. Like, get over here. What are you doing? Get in the car. I had to step back and be like, Alexis, you are tripping. You are tripping. You are angry with just how things are going. This is none of these children's fault. It's none of their fault. It's not any of their fault that the dentist canceled on Emmanuel. It's not their fault that they're inquisitive. Like, they're doing exactly what you asked them to do or taught them to do, was to ask questions and things like that. You're upset and you want to take it out on someone else. So your first thought is, I'm about to spank this child. And then it made me think, this is what breaking generational curses is. Taking a deep breath and thinking, the action that I am about to do, is it beneficial to me and my child? Is it beneficial to my child? Is it beneficial to his growth? Does he learn anything? Is he any different? Is he any better? No. Why are you doing this? Because you're angry. Why do you feel this way? Because you're angry. And because you're so frustrated, you're so angry, you're reaching back for what you learned. And you learned as a child. When you see when a parent is angry, that's what your parents did. When they were angry at a situation or at you, or, you know, something's going on the outside and you come in and they're so frustrated, they took it out on you. That's what it was, you know, and that's not what I want for me and my kids, like me and my family. That's not the relationship that I want to have with them. I remember sitting in church one time and a pastor was preaching. And he's going on and on. He was very big. One of the pastors I had, he was very big on discipline. Train up a child, spare the rod, spoil the child, all of that. And he had said that he made the comment that his mother, now he loved his mother very much, and you know, I believe she loved him too, you know, but he said his mother was one of the meanest people he knew. And I was like, oh, wow, like, I don't want that to be something that I leave to my kids. You know, what they do with their family, whatever, you know, that's what they decide to do. But I don't want my kids to grow up and be like, you know, I love my mom. She was one of the meanest people. Like, I don't want that said about me. Yeah. So all of that to say, that's what breaking, right now, that is what breaking generational curses looks like to me. Going to therapy, talking through my trauma, because that's what it was. At the end of the day, trauma. It was trauma. I don't care what anybody has to say or how anybody feels about it. It was trauma. And it affected my life greatly. It affected my mental greatly. It molded me into who I am. And sometimes it's an individual that I'm not very proud of. And that sounds bad, but it's just honest. It's just honest. But with doing that, it's really hard and it's really exhausting, because I remember, I still know these adults, when kids are acting the way that my children sometimes act and my children can't help it, the cure would be to whoop them, beat them. And like I said, because that's how I grew up, the anger in me wants to reach for that. I'm going to whoop this child so this child shuts up. No, I'm not. I'm going to challenge the way that I feel. I want to shut up that anger within me. And I'm going to do what I can to reason with this child. I don't know why it comes to people like children aren't supposed to be reasoned with. They're not supposed to be understood. They're not supposed to be listened to. I don't like that. That was me as a child. People didn't listen to me. Um, People didn't reason with me. Made me feel like I didn't have a voice. And I became an adult without a voice. And that's not something that I want for my children. And it's not just the whoopings that is a generational curse I'd like to break. The lack of knowledge is also, and I'll talk about that in another video, but the lack of knowledge of life and finances and how those things work. The lack of actual love. Not just saying I love you, but showing it. Hugs and kisses and being affectionate with your children. Like, those are things that I want to, not being affectionate. I want to break that. I want to actually be affectionate with my kids. My kids are lovey-dovey children. The one that probably hugs me the least is my oldest, and that's just because he's just, I guess, gotten too old and cool, but he tells me he loves me all the time. I love you, Mommy. Have a good day, Mommy. These are relationships, types of relationships I want to build with them. It's not always easy because, I've been pretty brainwashed by the things that I've gone through. And it makes it really difficult sometimes to break those curses. But as exhausting as it is, especially today, I still remind myself, like, no, they deserve your understanding. You deserve your understanding. Like, you deserve to recognize that you're not having a great day, that you do not feel well, that you do not need to go into work, but that you also do need a breather from your children. They need a breather from you. I don't want to be yelling at my kids and them seeing me in such a negative and bad way and just flying off the handle. Like, that's not a way I want them to see me. So I need to step away, get my shit together. But I need to allow them to step away so that they can have a break from me. And, along with that, sometimes I need a break from me too. I sometimes be realizing that there are people just like I'm a person. While I may be an older person, we're still people. You know what I mean? It reminds me of a conversation I was having with my husband, and he was yelling at my oldest for something that he did. And I think it was like not putting something up or something like that. But I remember like joking with him, like, oh, that's funny. You're yelling at this 8-year-old for something he didn't put up, and you're almost 40, and I trip over your stuff constantly. And you've almost been on this earth for 4 decades, and him not even a decade yet. That's a curse that I like to break too. Like, lack of understanding for children. Like, lack of understanding that, hey, they don't know nothing. And everything a child has to learn, like, you have to teach them. They don't know how to clean up. They don't know how to pick things up. Like, they don't know that. They just know that they want whatever, how they feel. You have to teach them how to healthily navigate through their emotions, That stuff is hard. It's hard, especially when you're the blueprint. When you don't have someone before you, like, this is what when you have a lot of, I don't know what to do, I just know to do the opposite of what was done to me, it's hard. It's hard. When you're the blueprint for the generations after you, it's a lot of pressure. That's a lot of pressure. But like I said in the previous video, I don't say all that to be like, I'm gonna quit, I'm not gonna do this, I'm not gonna do that. No, I'm just saying this to say that this is where I am right now. Like, this is the part of my journey. I am in the trenches of breaking generational curses, and it's difficult. It's hard. I cry a lot. I'm frustrated a lot. I am constantly trying to find healthy ways to deal with that frustration. I am learning not to take it out on my children, not to take it out on the people around me. I'm learning to be honest with myself. I'm learning to be honest with the way that I was brought up. and not just, it didn't work for me. I am not well some days. Some days my mind is a mess. Just due to the trauma. I don't know, guys. I say all that to say we're in this together. And like I said at the beginning of the video, breaking generational curses does not look the same for everybody, because every family doesn't go through the same. One thing I noticed, some of the people that are around me get so annoyed with me telling my story or talking of my experiences, which I'll stop talking about them around them. So to spare them of having to hear it. They were there, they know what I've been through, but I won't stop telling my story. I won't stop speaking of my experiences. I feel like this is a gift that God has given me, to be able to talk about what I'm going through, what I've gone through, so that someone else does not feel alone. Like, I want to be to someone, and I said this before, and the video explained the new direction of my channel. I want to be the someone that I wish I had. I want somebody to look on here and be like, I'm not so alone. Like, I'm not so alone. And if she can do it and is doing it, well, you know what? I can too. And that's it. So I'm going to get off of here. I'm going to drink my drink. Quick story time before I go. So, I was talking about my child and him having meltdown because he wanted to go to the dentist. And it seemed like such a small thing. Like, he wants to go to the dentist. And he didn't get to go to the... Why is he having a fit? And while I was so frustrated in that moment, I was so frustrated with him crying. I was so frustrated with my day. I was just so angry and so frustrated. After I had calmed down, stepped out back from the car, calmed down, I got them to the babysitter. I decided to go to Starbucks and get me a drink. And I'm just boggled down with what I have gone through in this day so far. And it's only 11 o'clock. It's like 11:30 in the morning. And I was just boggled down with what I have been through. So I was like, let me go order my favorite drink. I'm feeling dehydrated. Pink drinks always get me right. Make me feel better. Give me a little juice in my mouth, a little juice in my body. So she gives me the drink. Cool. I get the drink. Blend it with my whip and everything. So then she's like, do you want a straw? And I was like, yes. Can you give me a straw? She gives me a straw. I pull out of Starbucks and I'm driving down the street, getting ready to head to work. And I pull it out the wrapper and it was blue. And for as long as I have been getting Starbucks, the straws have always been green. That's just what I've connected together. Green straw, Trenta cup. And y'all, I pulled out that blue straw and wanted to have it melt down. Like, I was getting teary-eyed and everything. Like, but why is my straw blue? And I thought about my baby. Like, but this isn't what I expected. And it wasn't. Maybe it was because the straw was blue and wasn't green. But it was out of the norm for me. I didn't like it. I pictured in my mind when I went to get my Starbucks drink that my straw was going to be green. Like, that's what I pictured. And it wasn't. And it triggered me so bad. And it made me think back to my baby, how he just wanted to get his teeth looked at. He watches all kinds of Daniel Tigers and PJ Masks and Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, and all of these things are shows that are showing him it is so cool to go to the dentist. You don't have to be afraid to go to the dentist. And he's just like, oh God, I get to be cool today because I get to go to the dentist. And he didn't get to have that. So it triggered him and it caused a meltdown. And that straw showed me sometimes that happens. And because it happens to me as a grown-up over a straw, he's allowed to have that emotion as a child. That, hey, this didn't go, this day is not going how I expected for it to go. And I'm really, really, really disappointed. So yeah, I just wanted to share that with you. If you're ever having a moment like you're so frustrated and you want to holler at your children or your loved ones or anything like that, just remember they're kids and they have emotions just like just like we do as adults. They deserve love and understanding and mercy. That's what we want God to have with us. That's what we want our higher power to have with us, is love and understanding and mercy. We need to have that with our children too, with ourselves, with our families, but mainly the kids. You know, mainly the kids. Anyways, I've talked enough. I've been on here enough. I'm going to get off of here and try to get my life a little bit. Try to do a little meditating and feeling a little better. So I'm going to get to that. I love you all very much. Thank you for spending this time with me and talking with me today. I will be back in the future with another video. I shall. But like, comment, share, subscribe, be a part of my journey. Watch my journey with me. Be with me on this journey. Subscribe so you do not miss a thing, so that you can always be and see what's going on with me. And communicate with me so I know what's going on with you. But share. I'm not asking you to buy anything. I'm not asking you to purchase anything. Just share my video, because maybe it don't work for you. Maybe it's not something you need right now, but maybe it's something somebody in your life needs. Maybe they're looking for a quirky girl to go ahead and follow and love and be like and feel like they're not alone with. Like, don't hide me. Share me if you like me. I love y'all. And I will see you all further along down the journey. Thanks for being here, guys. I'll see you later. Bye.